Hello, Steve Cantwell. This is Jesus here. Look, I know you've been ringing around to see who has been leaking information at QR. The answer is, my friend, ArchieLuxury.
Hello, ArchieLuxury. About time I make another QR video here. So this is for Jackie Trad. Jackie Trad was right. QR has a bad culture. Did you ever wonder why? Did the public ever wonder why? Did the public ever wonder why they are at the center of all the Queensland rail debacles? Why the public are screwed over every time, why there are not enough drivers, why the executives get off the scale salaries and round the world junkets. Well, I'm going to tell you all about it. In simple terms, you have an executive that is so inwardly focused, only ever interested in themselves and what's in it for them. Focused on themselves, only interested in what they can do for themselves, and when the public gets sick and tired of the unreliable rail service, broken down trains, do the pollies take a good hard look at the problem? Why are the public getting so upset? Do the politicians ever ask this fucking question? Unfortunately, dropkicks like Sterling Hinchcliffe decided not to investigate my concerns that I emailed him in March 2016 about shortage of drivers, Moreton Bay Rail not being ready, and the new gen trains being late. Because of QR. Because the executives of QR said, I don't know what I'm talking about. Let me go through a few of the executives, and let's have a bit of a talk here about them. Helen Gluer. I got rid of her in October, but Helen was only interested in getting more women in the organization at any cost. And I mean any cost. Stuff you traveling public. Firstly, there was the wee break. Helen agreed with the unions to give drivers a wee break every 2.5 hours so they could attract more female drivers. Now I know you ladies who are watching this think what a nice old boiler Helen was. Well, it was a case of fuck you travelling public. You see, at the time, QR was already 100 drivers short. The wee break meant they were now short 160 to 180 drivers. Yes, that's right, less service. Helen's policy, employ women at all costs, and fuck you travelling public, and taxpayer, you can miss your train. Let's look at her succession planning. Helen decided to put Shannon Ivanhoe to replace Kevin Wright. Regardless of what you think of Kevin, he had over 50 years rail experience. Shannon was an admin person. Very nice, but was totally isolated by all who knew about rail operations because she knew jack shit about train operations. But good old Helen's goal of getting women in the organisation was in play. But hang on there, you say. There were women in operations who knew a lot about train operations, like Therese Miller. Well, you're right, Therese is a formidable train operator, but Helen overlooked Therese because she was not as young and hot as Shannon. So fuck you, travelling public. Helen decided that the finance section needed a woman in charge. Everyone had complained about Mark Hope being a snivelling little backstabbing turd with anal leakage, so Helen sends Nicole Juice, head of HR and culture, off to do an accounting course on full pay to replace Mark. Mark finds out and gets the toss of the organisation. Helen then gets the toss out, and the chief circle jerker, Jim Beanstead, takes over finance. Again, fuck you, travelling public. Women at all costs was the only goal. Let me summarise. You have a CEO who only wants women in any role, zero interest in the travelling public. You have a head of HR and culture on full pay to learn accounting that went nowhere. Now Ms. Juice had nailed the previous CEO, Gorilla Glenn Dorr, by complaining direct to the board about his behaviour. So she is well regarded in the executive backstabbing arena. So if you wonder why Jackie Trad says it's a bad culture, the answer is simple. The execs are too busy stabbing each other in the back. The public does not feature in any plan. The head of organisation culture is the queen of backstabbing. So you can see why the motto of the QR executives is, fuck you, travelling public. I'm ArchieLuxury. I wrote to Sterling. I got a bullshit answer from him. And all I can say to Sterling is it couldn't happen to a more deserving jerk like you. You fucking bastard. You sit in your ministerial leather chair and you sit in your caprice. And why would you listen to anyone who writes to you? Well, I'm glad you got the fucking ass. And I tell you what, Labour is so on the stink here, Jackie and Anastasia probably won't be there for much longer. Not that the other side is terribly that great, but what do you fucking expect me to do? I'm trying to bring about change. I care about the travelling public. I am one of the travelling public who uses the fucking train. So you circle jerker politicians out there, take note. This is why One Nation has stormed popularity, because you fuckers are so far removed. I'll be leaking more stuff. Don't you worry about that. As Joe said, don't you worry about that. I'll be leaking stuff during election time. You can bet your bottom dollar. See you later, fuckers.